Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my live today. One day before the election. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today on the live? Well, I would like to talk about medical waivers and how to prepare it. Okay, I've done a lot of different videos on, what constitutes the necessity for a medical waiver, when one might not be needed, and so forth. But in this particular live, I want to talk about how to prepare a medical waiver. Okay? So, as usual, I will talk about how to do this and so forth. And then after, what I would like, if you want, you can ask your questions. You can put your questions here. You can put them after, whatever you want. And I will answer them as soon as I'm done getting through my, spiel on how to prepare a medical waiver. Then I'll answer the question. So I'll just scroll back and answer it at that time. All right. So just briefly, remember you're coming in on a green card, and somehow or another they found you inadmissible, or your loved one or your friend or whoever, inadmissible because of a medical condition. And the question is, what is the medical condition? It could be psychological, it could be physical, whatever it is. There's no real limitation on the type of medical condition. And let's just assume that they have found you inadmissible. What do you do? Okay, how do you prepare it? Well, the first thing you have to get out of your mind is that you're going to spend 10 minutes filling out the I-601, submit it, and they're going to grant it without any problem. Okay, you've got to get that out of your mind. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The granting of waivers is discretionary. There's no legal obligation for the person reviewing the waiver to say yes, okay? I mean, there's illegal ways they could say yes. They could, exaggerate. They could say, I hate people from your country, therefore, I don't care how good this waiver is, I'm going to deny it, okay? Obviously stuff like that. But other than that, if they adjudicate it and they deny it, then the door is closed for you. You're not coming in. It doesn't matter if you're here on an EB-5 investor's visa where you've just spent $2 million, hired 25 U.S. workers, and you're ready to rock and roll. Unless the door is open with a approval of the medical waiver. If you've been determined to be inadmissible because of it, you're not coming in. So the reality is that at least in the beginning, the waiver itself is more important than the visa or the green card. Because you can have the green card all you want, but it's like standing outside of a house where it's snowing and all the people on the inside are eating dinner and you're staring in there wondering when they're going to let you in. Okay, the door has to be opened for you to get in. So don't think that preparing a waiver is easy peasy, that you fill out the one form and that's it. Okay, that's just the book cover. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some hints, some explanations on how to better prepare the medical waiver so that you'll be more prepared. And just so you know, it might go on over to other types of waivers. If you catch on to this one, there are some similarities. All right. So first things first, when you're doing a medical waiver, you have to get your medical file. Okay, don't play games with them. Don't make them wonder what your condition is. Don't pick and choose 3 papers out of 500 papers so that it makes it look better. Okay, they're going to know that. If you just pretend you're not you and you're reading, and if after you read what you submitted, if in your mind it's like you're saying, well, I don't really know what this guy has. Well, then neither will the officer. So, Don't be ambiguous with your medical condition. Get the records out there on the table. Okay, you're going to be asking for a waiver anyways, so don't play around with trying to make your medical file look better. Okay, that's the bottom line. So the first thing is your medical file. And by the same token, don't submit 5,000 pages either. Okay? I mean, if you've had something going on for a long time and you have, this thick of a file, don't submit all of that either. These officers have 10,000 cases behind you and in front of you that they need to adjudicate, and they're not going to spend a whole lot of time. So even though I'm telling you that it must be meticulously prepared, it must have a lot of supporting evidence, it must be persuasive, on the other hand, it has to do all that in a short period of time. If you think the officer, I'm being realistic here. If you think the officer is going to spend more than 10 or 15 minutes on your waiver, you're wrong. So you need to make that 10 or 15 minutes count. Okay? Don't fill it with a bunch of baloney garbage. Don't fill, 2,000 pages of medical documents when you could have done it realistically in 20 pages. But then, there's a line you have to walk. Don't put 2 pages that don't properly tell the story when you need to put 20 pages. Okay, but put enough of the medical file in there that it's crystal clear what you have. Okay, so that's that. Next, you're going to do a cover letter. Now, well, I say you if you do it yourself, but, obviously if my firm does it, we do an attorney cover letter, and we describe why you're inadmissible. Okay, we describe the law that makes you inadmissible and so forth. Because a lot of times, in order to adjudicate the waiver, you have to know why the person's inadmissible to see if there's a corresponding waiver provision of that admissibility provision. Okay, so that all goes in the cover letter. Now, what's the next big thing that you have to show? Okay, well, a big part of medical waivers, once you've established everything I've just said, is to show that you're going to get treatment, that you know what the problem is and you're going to get treatment. Let's just pretend you have tuberculosis, an infectious disease. Okay? They're not going to want you to come into the U.S. without proper precautions, without doing what's necessary, without showing what you have to do to try to resolve it. Okay? It's an infectious disease. They're not going to put, people living here at risk. So I use that as an example because, let's say you do have tuberculosis, but let's say that your home country doesn't properly treat it, or let's say it's complicated with something. Let's say you have tuberculosis with, some kind of cancer or whatever, and your country doesn't treat that or doesn't have the proper facilities to treat that. So as part of the waiver, the first part for you is to show that, in fact, you know what you have, you know it's infectious, you know how to make precautions to limit the infection against other people. Okay, so your knowledge of what it is. Then next, you need to make it clear what the plan of attack is. Okay, you're not just going to come into the U.S. and watch TV with tuberculosis, okay, and whatever else you have. You're going to show medical documentation, letters from whomever you're going to see, that in fact there's a plan available to either cure you of it, or to treat you of it, or to make you non-infectious, or to put you through some program that's going to save your life that wouldn't happen if you weren't inside the United States. Okay? So that is what you're going to have as part of your evidence, which is clearly showing your plan to deal with this medical problem. I mean, when it comes down to it, the immigration officials are not heartless, okay? They may think you're lying when you walk in the door, but if the waiver is properly prepared, then you will be able to convince them that they should grant it. So if your life is, not being sufficiently treated, your medical condition, and you need to come in the U.S. to do it, and you have a plan, then all that needs to be put in the waiver. Now, what else? You need to show financial responsibility. Okay, the U.S. is absolutely, positively not going to let you in on a medical waiver if you don't show you have the funds to pay for the treatment. Okay, or if you don't have family members that will help pay for the treatment. That's how it is. Okay, you could come in with all the other stuff, but if you come in and you don't show you have the financial wherewithal to do all of this, to execute the plan, to get the treatments, they're not going to let you in. Okay, so again, you need somebody who's going to, sign off and say they're going to provide the necessary items, or, perhaps your insurance in your home country will pay everything. Okay, and you're going to live with someone who's going to take care of all the expenses. Just make it crystal clear that that's what's going to happen, so you don't become a public charge. Okay? So those are the big items that you need to have in a medical waiver. Okay? And if all those are sufficiently presented in a coherent manner, don't just slop it all in a pile and say, here, okay? Do the cover letter, you divide it into exhibits, you make it in a coherent fashion, then you have a much better chance of your medical waiver being approved so you can come into the U.S., get the necessary treatment, do what you have to do, and still get lawful permanent residency. Okay, that's how it works. Now, obviously, if you're a non-immigrant and you're just applying for a non-immigrant waiver, then it's not specifically referred to as a medical waiver. You can, encapsulate everything I said in a non-immigrant waiver and then come in. So, for example, if you're not a green card holder, but, you have everything I just said and you're going to get treatment inside the U.S. because you can't get it in your home country, you could come in on, for example, a B2 for medical purposes, okay? But then you do the waiver, okay? So that's how that works. So hopefully you picked up a few things. So let me go back here and see if we have any questions. Happy beginning of the week, everybody. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Okay. And as usual, if anyone, sometimes people don't want to present their questions here because I'm telling everybody else the answer. You can go ahead and contact me any of the numerous ways that I have, which is easy enough to find, or you can email me, or you can make a consultation appointment online. Okay. You don't even have to call anybody. It's all automatic. Isn't that cool? Okay. Let's see here. Just a minute. I'm going through a lot of people that joined. I'm just going to see if there's any questions. Okay. We do have some silly political comments, but we don't need to respond to that. Okay, second. Just going through and seeing if we have any questions. Now's the time to tell me, because once I get to the end, if I don't have questions, I'm going to call it, okay? That's how it goes. I do my live, tell you what I need to tell you, and I help whom I can. Okay, here's one. Hello, how long will it take USCIS to respond after receiving the RFE? Well, that depends, okay? First of all, RFE is a request for evidence. So what that means is that, did you hear me crack my knuckles? I once had people tell me when I was like 12 years old to stop doing that. Anyways, it depends. There's a lot of different types of petitions you can have in RFE. Okay, I've had RFEs that sometimes that are 12 pages long. It's crazy. It really depends. If you had an RFE and let's say you were in thing and you sent it in, then it's not going to take that long. Okay. If you have a 12-page RFE because they think everything under the sun wasn't properly provided, it's going to take a lot longer. If it's an employment petition, a family petition, if it's a non-immigrant visa, you can have an RFE for anything at immigration, okay? So normally when you send it, if you do send everything that's required, you're looking at a few months, okay? Believe it or not, they have a ton of cases they process in front of you, but that's about how long it'll take. If it takes longer than that, you need to do a formal inquiry, and then if they, keep blowing you off and telling you, just wait for too long, you file writ of mandamus against them. Okay, you go to court and make a suit to force them to make the decision. Okay, so that's that. I'm not sure if I skipped any or not. Let me just see what we have here. I still put to you guys, if anybody knows how to get to just the messages without scrolling through everything, let me know. It certainly would make this section more efficient, right? Okay, I think we just had one question today. Let me just confirm. Let me just go back for a second because it skipped a bunch. Okay, well, anyways, that is the spiel on the live. I hope you guys have enjoyed. By the way, if any of you want me to do a live on a particular subject, because as you might know, immigration has like 20,000 different subsections, and I could do a live on anything. I mean, anything involving immigration. Now, we're talking U.S. immigration, so if you start asking me about immigration in Germany, I'm not going to be able to tell you, but anything with U.S. immigration, I can do a live on. So just send me. Say hello. I'd like you to do a live on, immigrating to the U.S. with a spouse, or, I have a degree in this and that. What type of visas do I qualify for? Or, can you do a live on work visas? Things like that. Okay. Well, I hope everybody has enjoyed. Everybody have a good rest of the week. I'll be back with my next live in a few days, and we'll go from there. All right. Have a good day.